Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Hello listeners, and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name is Dr. Leslie Phillips and I will be your host for the next hour. And as you know, Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show all about metaphysics and spirituality. And you are welcome to join in, listeners. Now, normally in the studio, I have the producer, Corey. Unfortunately, he's not here this evening. And what that means is that if you do have a question, it would be great if you could email it to info@drlesliephillips.com. So once again, that's info@drlesliephillips.com just for this evening. If you're listening on the podcast, the call-in number for the show is 604-504-7441, extension 4142, and we are here every Tuesday Pacific Standard Time from 7 to 8 p.m. on CIVL. Well, listeners, every week we have a different topic that focuses on subjects in the realm of intuition, metaphysics, spirituality, and energy healing. And this week is no exception. We have a fantastic show planned for you this evening, and we are having a guest on. And the theme today is going to be all about energy medicine. So we're talking about healing, and we have an energy medicine expert on the show. So if you have a question about healing, or you even have something going on yourself that you would like to ask about, then email info@drlesliephillips.com. Now, we talk about energy a lot on the show. And, of course, everything is energy. And that includes you. And what healing is it's changing energy from one state to another more desirable state. There are so many healing modalities that you can encounter, just like there are so many different spiritual belief systems. But I would say at the core of all healing modalities is this concept: everything is energy, and that we have the power to shift and change our energy. Just like at the core of all spiritual belief systems is love. So today we're going to explore the connection between healing and love, and how your path to health, happiness, and wholeness lies in you learning how to take charge of your energy. So our guest today is Melissa Mintz. And she is an energy medicine practitioner. She's also an author and a speaker. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's written 2 books. And I love the idea that she has comedy in these books about healing. So one of the books is called It's Just My Nonsense, and she's also written an inspiring self-help book called Excuse Me, Your Energy is Showing, which that makes me chuckle because, of course, your energy is always showing. It's just that most people don't know how to see it, but it's always showing. Anyway, since Melissa also works in the medical field, she has a unique insider's view of holistic and conventional medicine. And I find that interesting too. And it seems like there's more and more people who are managing to step on both sides of that. Me included, actually, because, of course, my background is also in conventional healthcare. Anyway, so Melissa, through a series of synchronistic events, was catapulted into an exciting new world that she had never imagined herself or even thought possible. So she is going to speak to us this evening, like I said, about energy medicine. And she's going to share with us her concepts and ideas about how does energy heal, and how to be the boss, how you can be the boss of your energy to live an empowered and joyful life. So Melissa, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Dr. Leslie. I'm so glad to be here. It's an honor to be on your show.
Oh, well, it's great to speak to you. And how is it in Georgia, in Atlanta tonight, I suppose it is for you?
It's pretty rainy. We've had thunderstorms. I think we're starting to get some of the bad weather come our way as well.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm so glad that you could join us in spite of the thunderstorms. And so tell us a little bit about your background, about your story, about how you came to be an energy medicine practitioner, and also your role in conventional medicine as well.
Yeah, well, I certainly never grew up thinking one day I would like to channel energy through my hands. I had another career goal in mind, and it didn't involve doing weird stuff with energy. I was always drawn to healing as a kid, but in my mind, that inner calling meant medical school, and that was the direction that I was moving toward. And I finished my pre-med at Ohio State, and then I went on to get a degree in nuclear medicine. And I was doing an internship at a hospital and saw the salespeople coming in, the medical equipment reps and the pharmaceutical reps. And after talking to them and getting to know a little bit more about the job that they did, I felt that my personality was geared more towards sales, and medical school no longer felt right for me. And so I accepted a position with a pharmaceutical company, and actually I still have a day job. I'm still in pharmaceutical sales, and through that time I've had various positions of sales and management. And there was just one day in June back in 2003, I walked into a metaphysical bookstore to buy You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. I wanted to get 2 copies. I was there with a purpose to buy a couple copies. There was 2 people I had in mind to give a gift of the book to. And when I walked in, there was a woman who was standing at the door waiting for me and placed a book in my hands called The Reconnection by Dr. Eric Pearl. And I went home that evening. I sat in my office and started reading the book, and I was about a third of the way through it. And as I was reading it, though, my hands kept tingling, and I thought they were falling asleep, and I kept shaking them, trying to wake them up. And this continued, but then about a third of the way through the book, I remembered that I did this work and that I was a healer. So it awakened a vibration deep within me and jogged this memory. And I remembered not only that I was a healer, but that I was meant to do this work in this lifetime. And, as synchronicity played out, it just so happened that a few months later, Dr. Pearl was going to be teaching in Atlanta, the reconnection and reconnective healing. And so I signed up right away, and that was the start into my healing journey and how I became an energy medicine healer. Of course, there's more to this story, but it's a little bit of a spoiler alert. You can certainly read more about it and who this woman was. It actually starts the preface of my book, Excuse Me, Your Energy is Showing. And I also have the comedy book. Some people think it's strange that I'm also a comedy writer, but the way I look at it, they're very similar. Comedy is very healing as well and raises our vibration too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, no argument from me there. I think there are so many different ways that people can be healers in the world. And I always use the example of a comedian, because if you're laughing, you're unaware in the moment that you're laughing of anything other than the amusement level. You can't feel your pain anymore. You're not thinking about your worries anymore. Amusement instantly raises your vibration. So I think comedians are some of the greatest healers that we have. So I think it's fabulous that I haven't read your books, but I think it's fabulous that you're combining humor and healing, because they go hand in hand, really.
Yeah, that's true. And, even my nonsense book, it's got a couple chapters that have a spiritual undertone as well. I have one chapter called The Basket of Laundry, which talks about the diversity on the planet. And, even in my energy book, it's sprinkled with humor as well. I mean, that's part and parcel of who I am. I couldn't tease out, the humor just as I couldn't tease out, the spirituality. But one thing I love about laughter, too, like you said, it raises our vibration. Of course, we know the effects of that. We attract other wonderful high vibration events and people and circumstances into our life. But it releases negativity so quickly. I mean, all the instances where we've laughed so hard and we just felt like we needed a nap. We just felt so light and,
yes.
almost just this lightness of being.
Yes, and what an enjoyable way to release energy. There's many ways to release energy, but I think side-splitting laughter is probably the most fun way of all. So in your story about yourself, you were saying about this book on reconnective healing that you were reading and how you felt tingling in your hands and how you, it triggered some information within you that you were a healer and that you were meant to be here as a healer. And so you started to be aware of energy, of the healing energy coming from your hands. And so I've got two well, maybe let's start with one question about that. Can anyone be a healer like that? Can anybody learn to do that?
Well, we all have the capacity to heal ourselves and heal others and to use this source energy to heal. And that's such a wonderful question. And I have a chapter on that in my book as well and some further information on that. But, the first thing is desire and intent. Not everybody has a desire to use source energy to heal, to even believe that it's even possible. And I talk about it in my book. Well, what if somebody is an atheist? Can they heal? Because it's using source energy, which is the energy of our creator. And, somebody like that probably wouldn't have the desire to create that reconnection. That's what all these energy modalities do, and all healings do actually, is to create a reconnection. And I refer to it more as a realignment back into source energy, which is the highest vibration of love, and that's essentially the vibration that we use to heal, the vibration of love. I mean, if somebody's a serial killer and, that type of person, they would not be drawn to this type of work. So even though we all have the innate capacity to use this source energy to heal, not everybody is drawn to this modality of healing. And that's why it's so wonderful that we have so many options to use, because it also depends on our level of awareness. Everybody's at a different level of awareness, and so whatever level of awareness that you have at that time, another type of healing may be appropriate. And then as your vibration increases and you have a different type of awareness and a greater awareness, then maybe another modality of healing. But the most important thing is that the most powerful medicine is the emotional state of the mind. So what you believe is the best option at that time for you is truly the best option. It's going to put your faith into that, your belief into that. And, that's why we have the placebo effect, because the mind is so powerful. And the placebo effect, just as you're, in the medical field and work for, that industry, pharmaceutical industry, is around 30%. And that just shows how strong the belief is that something will work for you, is going to work for you. And there's something called nocebo, which is the Latin word for I shall harm, and placebo is I shall please, which is the positive effect, but nocebo is a negative effect. And if we believe that something is harmful to us and will not work, well, that's the power of the mind, and it's not going to work, and we could have a harmful effect. If a doctor says to you in taking a medication, well, I don't know if this is work, this will work for you. So many people have had a negative event, and it may have depression or anxiety or kidney failure. Well, basically, if the patient believes in that, well, they're going to develop adverse events based on the belief that the doctor said because they now believe it.
Thank you so much. That's an excellent answer and very, very thorough. And, I think that's exactly right what you said. I think for any listeners who are interested in learning energy healing, of course, let that also be an inspiration for you, because if you do have the desire and you do have the intention and you do believe that it's possible, then it is possible for you. And Melissa, you're quite right. So much centers around our beliefs, doesn't it? That's really how we create our reality, through our beliefs. So tell us more about how you use energy to heal. And maybe you can explain to the listeners who don't know what reconnection healing is, a little bit about that, but also just talk to us about how you use energy to heal.
Well, as I said, I was reading the book, The Reconnection, Dr. Eric Pearl's book, and my hands started to tingle. But one thing I didn't mention as well is that even before those 6 months from after I read the book and when the seminar started, I was actually already healing. I just seemed to innately know what to do. And people think energy healing is, how can energy heal? It's just this invisible substance that only scientists care about. But everything in existence is energy. And we, the humans, are energy as well. And basically, I'm just bombarding you with energy. And that was the basis of writing my book, Excuse Me, Your Energy is Showing, because so many people, prospective clients would call me and ask me what I would do, just like we're talking, and how does energy heal? And after a 20, 30-minute conversation, at the end I would hear, I still don't get how energy can heal. Well, if you can't think of in terms of how can energy heal, then it may be easier to think of it in terms of frequency and vibration, because frequency and vibration is used in traditional medicine as well, in conventional medicine. For example, if you have a broken bone that hasn't healed and go to an orthopedic doctor, he may use a low-frequency electrical current to stimulate the bone and the surrounding blood vessels. Ultrasound is now used in mainstream medicine for pain relief and to reduce inflammation. Many of our diagnostic tools are actually based on energy because our body's electromagnetic. For example, an EEG measures the electrical activity of the brain, and an EKG measures the electrical activity of the heart. We have pacemakers because the heart's electrical as well. MRI, the reason why that works is because our bodies are electromagnetic. So, and even sound therapy doctors have used. I had a client tell me that he went to a doctor, he injured his shoulder, and the doctor used sound therapy. So energy medicine is used in traditional medicine. We just don't think of it that way, and the doctors don't as well. But I'm using source energy to heal, which is a very high vibration. And right away, immediately, every cell in the body now adjusts to this new vibration. I'm introducing a high vibration to help correct these abnormal vibrations in the body. And when you introduce a higher vibration, every cell is now elevated and establishes a new relationship to this higher vibration. And these lower vibrations causing illness and disease and injury and deformity, they just seem to vibrate out as appropriate for each person, or oftentimes they just correct these abnormal vibrations. So now they're vibrating at a higher level.
Thank you. And I find it wonderful and fascinating that you come up with all of those analogies in medicine. And I think that is a unique perspective. It's probably no accident that you studied nuclear medicine. Yeah, so that's wonderful. Thank you. Now, so tell us, why is it important to be aware of our energy?
Well, being co-creators in the universe and being able to create our reality is our greatest superpower. And we can either go through life being empowered or we can go through life being powerless. If we're not aware of our energy, we're giving our power away. And everything in existence is energy. And because of that, everything in existence communicates through energy. And we're constantly communicating with everything in existence, and we don't even know what we're saying. We need to start thinking of ourselves as fields of energy, as if we're just this walking, talking antenna, transmitting and receiving frequency constantly. And all our thoughts and emotions and actions create our reality, and we can either go through life as the steel ball in the pinball machine being bounced around from one obstacle to another until game over, or we can create our reality and live the life of our dreams and be aware of our thoughts and what we're focusing on. And most people just aren't aware of what their thoughts are creating, and we create everything. We create the joy and we create the sorrow. And it's time to learn how to be the boss of this energy, and we can do this by being aware of what our thoughts are and what our dominant thoughts are. And what I mean is we're constantly sending a vibration. And if you want to get an idea of what your set point is, your default vibration, or even offering a vibration to the universe even when we're sleeping and not paying attention, think of what your thoughts are about. What do you think about when you first wake up in the morning? Are you thinking, oh, I hate my life, I need a new car, I don't like my job, nobody loves me, I feel worthless, I'm depressed? Or do you wake up and you're grateful for the day and you think, oh, what a great day, I'm so grateful I have a job, and what a beautiful day, and the traffic to work, is wonderful today. And, so that gives you an idea of whether you're a positive vibration or a negative vibration. And if, your thoughts are negative, you know that you need to do some work to raise your vibration. And one of the quickest ways to raise your vibration is if we know that love and gratitude and appreciation and thankfulness and empowerment is the highest vibration, then think of things to be grateful for. And you don't have to walk around muttering to yourself. Thoughts are energy as well, and you can just think these things. And I've even established this habit as well, that when I wake up in the morning, I lie in bed for a few minutes and think of things to be grateful for. I love my dogs, I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for my house. What a beautiful day today. Just anything. You could be shopping and think, oh, I'm grateful the register line is short. And, there's so many things to be grateful for, but that creates a new habit to raise your vibration. The reason why having an attitude of gratitude is so important, if we know that's the highest vibration and we're going to attract situations and events in our life and circumstances of these higher vibrations, then that's what we're offering to the universe. And the universe says, and so it is, and continues to bring us things in our reality of this higher vibration. And that continues until our vibration changes and we offer a lower vibration, and the universe responds back and says, and so it is, and then we get circumstances of that vibration. So our power to create is in that present moment, and so if we stay in that present moment and are aware of our thoughts, we can completely change our life. And I'm a testament of this now. I mean, I was thinking about the books and having the books out and doing radio shows and having a healing office, and all this is happening. I've manifested this from being a drug rep to now having this entirely new life.
Well, thank you. And on that note, I'm going to go to some commercial breaks, but we'll ask you more about your journey and your books and energy healing after these few short messages. Hello listeners, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name's Dr. Leslie Phillips and I am your host. And this evening on the show, we are talking with energy healer Melissa Mintz about energy medicine. And so we've been having a fabulous discussion. And if you've been listening in and you have a question that you'd like to send, then please write it now to info@drlesliephillips.com. So welcome back, Melissa. I hope you enjoyed those few short commercial breaks. And so let's talk a little bit more about energy. And because we are energy, we're surrounded by an energy field, and it's not a static energy field, is it? It's completely dynamic. So tell us your perception of that dynamic energy field, and how does it change around different people? Does it change when we encounter different kinds of situations and people in our lives?
Well, you're right. Energy is constantly moving and flowing, and that's why when we talk about creating our reality, the first thing starts with intention. Because what intention does is creates a shift in the energy. And energy alters everything that it comes into contact with. That's why when we meet people, we act differently around different people because we're interacting with that person's energy, and we change in response to their energy, and they change in response to our energy. And I think that we have all noticed this. How many times have you ever thought, I act different around my friends? Tom may bring out a playful side in you where you act silly and you just feel more at ease and you can be yourself. And then you may have another friend, Sheila, where you're just really serious and analytical and you don't really laugh that much. And it's true, you do act differently around different people because your energy changes and their energy changes. And sometimes we just have this connection with somebody. There's something to be said for birds of a feather flock together. We meet people and we just have this instant connection with. And I coined an expression in my book, in the energy book, of frequency friends. That there's some people that we just feel like those are our people, and we just migrate to and we feel more comfortable around. And then there's others that right away we meet them and we just never really have a connection with that. And you may find that around your friends or even in the workplace or even in your neighborhood, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just have a different frequency and a different wavelength, and that's just not your group that you're going to be comfortable with. And sometimes we may be in a social situation or work environment and just think, we don't fit in. What's wrong with us? Well, it's not that there's something wrong with you. It's just that that's not your frequency group, and you may never fit in with those people.
So you introduce an interesting concept. So what's your concept of how somebody's energy might change through their life? So let's make up an example. Let's make up an example of perhaps somebody who was abused in their childhood, and they carry the energy frequency of that disturbance. And then that person attracts things that match that because they're carrying it in their energy field. I'm just making up an extreme example. Can that person change? And in changing their energy field, do the frequency friends that they attract change?
Absolutely. And we're constantly changing our frequency, and we're constantly changing our vibration, and we do that with awareness. That's why not every relationship is meant to last a lifetime. Sometimes we have relationships with our friends and they just sort of naturally dissolve. Or even, a committed relationship, possibly even a marriage, that after a while you feel like you've just outgrown each other. Maybe one person is much more spiritual and raising their vibration, and their spouse, is at a whole different vibration and awareness, and they just sort of drift apart. But that doesn't mean that just because somebody's more on a spiritual path and their spouse isn't, that relationship has to end. Oftentimes one person may help increase the vibration and awareness of another. You'll know when it's time for a relationship to end by how you feel in that relationship. Do you feel loved? Do you feel supported? Are you able to grow in this relationship? Those are types of questions to ask yourself. But the question that you asked, the hypothetical situation, let's say somebody is abused and carries that vibration. But certainly, that sounds more like, a growth, a soul growth. Mm-hmm. And that's something to talk about as well, that sometimes we come into this lifetime to experience different situations so that we can evolve and grow. And even something like that would require usually forgiveness and the vibration of self-love. And sometimes healing is not changing our beliefs, but it's an absence of belief, and sometimes people can come in with an abuse situation and hold that anger and that resentment. And when you do that, you have this, I think of it as this energetic string where you're constantly attached to that event, and that draws you back in the past. And so you're spiritually stagnant until you release that. That's forgiveness is so important, because if you're constantly in the past, well, your vibration is lowered because all your cells are listening to the message of anger and resentment and possibly revenge, and you can't grow and evolve in this lifetime until you release that. And as soon as you do, your vibration is increased. Self-love, loving ourselves is our greatest gift, because if you do not love yourself, it becomes more difficult to give and accept love from other people. And also, when we do not love ourselves, we tend to attract relationships into our life that's abusive, because we look for others to validate how we feel about ourselves. And what I mean is, if we feel that we're not worthy of love, we're not good at anything, and then we're in a relationship and somebody treats us like that, we accept that because it validates how we feel about ourselves. But if we're the type of person that we're confident, we love ourselves, we feel that we're worthy and empowered, well, those are the types of relationships and people that we attract, because they validate how we feel about ourselves. If we feel that way about ourselves and somebody tries to abuse us and disrespects us, we move on because we think, we're not going to put up with that. That's not how we would treat ourselves, and we value ourselves. That's why self-love is so important, and forgiveness is so important, not just on a physical level, but on a spiritual level as well. And forgiveness is releasing that attachment that's holding you back in the past so you can be in the present and raise your vibration and heal.
Thank you. You've just given us information really on how people can use energy to create a better life for themselves. Have you experience of working with people who have created a better life for themselves by moving into those higher vibrations of forgiveness and gratitude and love? And
well, that's a great question. And, all clients have a benefit on a spiritual, emotional, and physical level. And they just move into what I refer to as appropriateness, that everybody has the appropriate healing that they need to have at that time in their life. But, sometimes it's a long buried memory that'll come up to the surface. In childhood, for example, I had one client whose mother died in childbirth while giving birth to her, and she developed uterine cancer. And she just totally blocked out that whole memory, and the memory was that her entire childhood, because of her grief, she kept saying, I hate my uterus, I hate my uterus. And she forgot that, that was sort of this mantra that she was saying her whole life. And, your cells are listening. You can't fake your intention to your cells. They're listening and they're responding. Your mind is basically a pharmacy writing the prescription, and your cells are filling that prescription. And what they were doing is they were releasing chemicals to, create this cancer in the body in her uterus. And as soon as that memory came up to her conscious, that created a big shift in healing. So that's what differs energy medicine. One of the most common differences is that we acknowledge that we are spiritual, mental, and emotional beings, and energy healing works on all three to bring into balance and harmony, and I refer to that as the Trinity of Wholeness. And traditional medicine basically treats us as body parts. I refer to that as Frankenstein medicine, where we have brain doctors and heart doctors and lung doctors and skin doctors and bone doctors and so forth. They just look at a specific body part, treat that, and don't look at the whole picture.
Or cut it out.
Yeah.
So then, talking about the people that you work with in doing energy healing sessions, do you see dramatic results, or do you see shifts that happen over time? Is it like a whole spectrum of ways that people become healed?
Well, it's funny because most people seem to have this misconception that energy medicine just helps relax or may accelerate the healing process and isn't to be used for dramatic healings. But what I can tell you is that I see very dramatic healings on my website. You can see testimonials and some of the more recent testimonials. But I work on everything: broken bones, injuries, cancer, Parkinson's, MS, traumatic brain injury. There's just not a specific list that I work on, because if you think about it, energy healing is non-specific, and that's another aspect that differentiates it from conventional medicine. And what I mean is that it works on every single cell, organ, and structure in the body, and the energy has intelligence. We're using source energy with universal intelligence, and it goes to where it needs to go. It's like I'm placing a conference call with my higher self and the client's higher self and the universe. So oftentimes these changes occur very quickly, because as soon as I place my intention for the energy to come through, the client can feel it. The energy is palpable. And usually they feel sensations of maybe a wave-like motion, or heat, or seeing light, or even different smells. Sometimes they smell different things like flowers, or the last client I had said, something burning. Sometimes they feel heat or cold. But one thing that's consistent with all the healings, that as soon as we focus, and I focus on my hands, I get that familiar tingling, and I have the intention when we walk in the room to heal. Sometimes as soon as we walk in, our stomach starts to gurgle. And that just is universal, and it's kind of like this fun connection with the energy. But the cells change very quickly because we're introducing a very high frequency, and right away the cells establish a new relationship with this frequency. And I've seen extremely dramatic healings, sometimes in just a few minutes. But after the session is ended, the energy is still working and harmonizing with the individual. I've had clients that said after the session they can still feel the energy bouncing around within them. They still oftentimes feel this vibration. The energy is still working.
Right, absolutely. So, now, I wanted to ask you a slightly different question now, which is how, because you're still working in both worlds, what is the perception of the people who are more firmly established within the conventional system? What's their reaction to you when they find out that you're into this energy healing stuff?
Well, that's a great question. And I said, when we talked about how I got into this healing work, that medical school no longer felt right. And now I understand that wasn't part of my life path, that I was always drawn to healing. And it was for this time. And I think that if I was more conventionally trained, I wouldn't be as open and as receptive to energy can heal. Conventional doctors and, the doctors that I've called on, and sometimes when we get a chance to talk during a lunch and we have more time, I may bring up, oh, what do you think of energy medicine? And it's usually dismissed with a hand wave as quackery. And they just aren't trained in that in medical school, and their training is basically surgery and drugs, and that's what they can offer their clients, usually in that order. But, what people don't realize is that the pharmaceutical companies fund the medical schools. They don't have any training on nutrition and the importance of sleep and other types of allopathic treatments such as homeopathy and energy medicine healing and using herbs and vitamins and even foods to prevent diseases. So part of it is their training, and those are the tools that they've been given to work with. So we can't really blame doctors for, not having a better understanding. They weren't educated, and it would be like being upset with a carpenter who made a three-legged chair when he wasn't given enough wood to make a chair with four legs. Those are the tools that they have, and it's like when we take our car into the shop, the mechanic pulls out a tool of his bag and then another tool and another tool and many tools, and that's what I consider these allopathic versus the holistic treatments. Oftentimes we think it's one versus the other, but they're just more tools. They're more options that we have. And sometimes people look at energy medicine as a last-ditch effort, like let's just use the most aggressive treatments first, and then if those don't work, we'll go down to maybe, chiropractic or acupuncture or energy medicine. And to me, that really doesn't make sense because you've got a simpler way to heal that's non-invasive and pain-free and zero-death treatment, and you save that for last. I think that the treatment paradigm should be reversed, that these treatments should be used first, and then if they don't work, these more aggressive treatments used as the last one.
Yeah, I agree with you, and unfortunately I have to go to another break, but the reason I asked the question is because, when I left, I've been out of it for 10 years now, but it really was this idea of, like you say, dismiss it in a hand wave. But I've recently had my eyes opened by a few of the guests that have been on the show that it seems like that some of the hospitals have energy healers working in them now. The insurance companies are actually starting to open to it. So it feels like change is afoot. But anyway, I must go to a break. So, and we'll be back after these few short messages. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. On tonight's show, we are talking to Melissa Mintz about energy medicine. Now, unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time, so I think we should probably talk a little bit about your books, and I'm not sure that we're even going to get time to get to the listeners' questions, which is unfortunate, but we've got about 10 minutes left on the show. So, tell us a little bit more about, now, which of the two books is the one that's the most recent one?
Well, actually, they were both launched at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah, so I have It's Just My Nonsense, which is a comedy, and this book is just about the nonsense in everyday life, just finding the humor in the most ordinary and normal of circumstances. And people are funny, and the things all of us do and say are hilarious, and that's what I write about. And it's funny, but the people who have read it have said to me that it's really helped them just shift their perspective and just to see the nonsense in their own life and not to take themselves and life so seriously. And it's just a reminder just to lighten up and just to remember to have fun and to laugh, because when we were kids, we used to laugh all the time. If you watch kids, that's just their normal way of being. They're constantly laughing. And then as we get older, we're told to be more serious and to act like a grown-up. And we don't laugh as much. And the stress of life and our jobs and our kids and our health and, actually destroys our health. It lowers our immunity. So it's just a reminder, hey, see the nonsense in your own life and to laugh more and to be silly and not take everything seriously.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? We do get more serious as we get older. And I think we can all identify with things that happen in our life that we take so seriously, and then we hold on to it, in our minds. Oh my God, that thing I did, or that thing I said, or that situation I got myself into. I'm sure we've all also got examples where a little bit of time goes by, and at the time we couldn't laugh at it, but eventually we can.
Well, that's funny. I refer to that as hilarious hindsight, where we've all had that, where we started a story with, it wasn't funny at the time, and that's about the things that are right about, and we have that hilarious hindsight because the situation didn't change, but now some time has passed, and we see it more as an observer, and we're looking back, and we see it from a different vantage point, and we see more of the big picture, and we think it's funny, and that's the hilarious hindsight.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I won't tell this story, but I mean, I got into a terrible problem once in Ecuador. I got very ill, and I had an allergic reaction to a drug that made me do all sorts of bizarre things, like stick my tongue out uncontrollably. And at the time, it was extremely frightening, and it happened on an aeroplane. But for years afterwards, when I would be invited for dinner, my friends would be, tell that story, that you nearly died when your tongue was sticking out of your mouth. So,
well, that's a perfect example of just how if we change our perspective on everyday life, that we can see the funny in it, we can see the humor. And I think that my greatest gift in writing comedy is just in perceiving and how I look at things, and that's what creates the humor in the comedy.
So quickly tell us about the other book, and then tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you. We've got literally about 7 minutes left. So tell us about the Excuse Me, Your Energy is Showing.
Excuse Me, Your Energy is Showing is about energy in all forms. Energy is the basic structure of everything in existence, and energy is about life. Every aspect of our life is energy. The people we interact with, the foods we eat, the medicine we take, our animals, everything. So this book is divided into 3 sections: energy, awareness, and love. And the first section talks about source energy and energy used to heal. And then awareness is how we create our existence, and I have chapters called Law of Attention. I refer to it as Law of Attention instead of Law of Attraction, because everything that we place our attention on grows stronger and it's reinforced to create our reality. And then the last section is love, and I talk about how words have power and the amazing animals and the energy in the foods we eat, and of course love and light and so forth. So I think of this book more as a life coach to help us live a more empowered life. And how they can get these books is Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. It can also be ordered from any bookstore. And if people go to my website, MelissaMintz.com, it's just my name, MelissaMintz. I have my books, links that they can order on my website as well. And also for my healing work, I have clients worldwide because I also do distance healings, and I actually facilitate more distance healings than in-person healings because I can facilitate healings located anywhere in the world. And so there's a schedule and a contact on my website as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for being on the show. I wish I had more time to talk to you, but unfortunately we're getting close to the end of the show. So once again, listeners, I hope you enjoyed our conversation about energy healing, and you can contact Melissa at melissa.mintzthat.com. Well, I'm going to let you go now, Melissa, but once again, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. I really enjoyed it. It was my pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, listeners, you have been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. And as you heard, we were talking about energy medicine and how everything is energy. And as our guest was talking about, what that means is, right, if you see a doctor that does ordinary medicine, you kind of have to go and see them and be in the same office as them to be examined. But if you want to receive an energy healing from an energy practitioner, an energy medicine practitioner or a clairvoyant healer, then you don't have to be. Everything is energy, and we can do healings long distance, right? So you can be the other side of the world and have your energy worked on. So you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth, and apologies if you sent in an email question. I hope that we will get through a lot of your questions next week, because we don't have a guest next week. So I will be doing a teaching of some kind. And of course, you're welcome to write to me at info@drlesliephillips.com and request what you would like the topic to be about next week. Always open to giving you information that you want to hear. And of course, during the week, you can send in your questions to info@drlesliephillips.com. So you've been tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth on CIVL.ca on 101.7 FM, and you might be catching us on the podcast. Unlocking Your Truth is available on my website on Dr. Leslie Phillips. It's also available on iTunes. And if you are a fan of the show, and you want to say thank you, I would so appreciate it if you would go onto iTunes and write a review. It would be so helpful in telling more people about the show, because it gets ranked higher up on iTunes if it has more reviews. And I know that there are so many people out there who are benefiting from the teachings and all of the information that we're sharing. And I know that because you write to me. So if you're listening and, you'd like to say thank you, go to iTunes, search for Unlocking Your Truth, and write us a short review. Tell us what you like about the show. Tell us how it's been helping you. Because I'm sure for all the ones of you that write to me, there are others that I don't ever even get to know about, and I would love to know. So I'm going to sign off now. We don't have a show coming after us. We just have some lovely music for you to listen to. So this is me, Dr. Leslie Phillips, signing off until next time. And if you want to listen to more of Unlocking Your Truth, then go to drlesliephillips.com and you can catch it on the podcast link. And you can also write in and send a question for a free reading on the show. All right. We will see you same time, same place on CIVL next Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesliephillips.com. That's drlesliephillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.